Welcome back, everybody, and here we are with the second of today's game, which is very close to bringing myself and Lafon's portion of the broadcast over, but it is going to be Trust the Process against Dice Gaming. And Lafon, it's time for my bias to shine bright because we have an all-EMEA team in the form of Trust the Process currently playing.
That is going to be a tough one to put on the sideline there for the bias there, as they say. We're all absolutely unbiased here on the casting booth.
No,
we do not have any opinions whatsoever. No, of course we do. Poking a little bit of fun at ourselves. Of course, getting into the match, we got to talk about the two teams we have ahead of here. Trust the Process, spelled with a Q. On account as if you look at the rosters, Trust Me is there, spelled with a Q as well, not a U as there is here. But I mean, some big names on both these squads.
Oh yeah, I mean, aside from Trust Me, who has been a tier 3 mainstay in a lot of teams that share his name, like we've got Seiko, who is currently signed to the Vancouver Titans. Dollar, Jaru, like this is almost a who's who of the EMEA tier 2 scene, so like a lot of talent here, but also Dice Gaming. We've got Aspen, we've got Petal, we've got Horthic, we've got most, like, the very strong roster here. Like, this could be maybe the closest match of the tournament.
It could be. I want to actually highlight Crandop just for a moment before we get into Dice Gaming specifically. Crandop, I've been following. Dude, he's 19 still. He's so young. But he's been in the pro scene for what feels like forever, and he's only 19. Yeah. So good on the, honestly, one of the better Winstons in the Western scene. A long-standing tank that's capable of playing all the tanks to a high level. We've seen the Reinhardt, we've seen the Orisa. Don't let anyone tell you differently. The pro level, a top tier Orisa is still a difficult thing to pull off. Yeah. But just a very, very talented player. So excited to see how Crandop, what they can showcase here in this series. As you said, of course, Dice Gaming, no shortage of talent there. Petal also a standout player. Core hit scan mostly, but capable of flexing a little bit there. So yeah, definitely going to be an explosive match. And if we take anything from the previous series, we expect to see a lot more of what has been affectionately called the chaos composition, right? The wrecking ball, and so the wrecking ball Zen, etc. This high mobility tempo. Getting a quick look at our map set, you can see the order of operations we're going to go through. We're going to start off on control though, and to the surprise of absolutely everybody, Lijiang Tower will be our first battleground, so to speak. And interested to see, because Lijiang Tower, can really focus these mobility compositions and make them shine.
Yeah, we kind of saw in the previous series, right? That there is a lot of margin here where you can use those high mobility compositions, and particularly this map, as we're starting on Gardens. We do also see a bit of rush coming out. In fact, now that we've got Jaru in the roster, starting here on Lijiang rather than Crandop, it makes sense to me that we're seeing rush, particularly from Trust the Process. Kind of their bread and butter here, particularly for Jaru.
I mean, yeah, we're obviously getting a look at. It's interesting we're getting to on Night Market too. We will almost certainly see this on Control Center as well. Both these teams are going to be playing this rush composition. The only difference is going to be, of course, the fact that there's Doomfist here from Dice Gaming. So on the teleport through, keep an eye out on this explosive damage, because that punch can really end some careers before they even start.
It can. Nice TP out from Upsell, straight in, but it's the punch from Zero that deals with level 1 Crook. Jaru down to Infected shortly thereafter. So Dice Gaming very cleanly, very quickly, very forcefully coming out on top in this first exchange, winning out the fight before the point unlocks. Upsell's still up here, but down fairly quickly after.
That's, I mean, in that instance, the main support's gone. Level 1 Crook, right? There's no immortality fields, you can't defend the rest of the squad, and so Dice Gaming will walk away with that fight fairly easily. Eyes on for Dice Gaming, because they now have the better positioning, and again, once you get into the objective, you're in the Doomfist playground, and Zero's going to try and make things as difficult as possible, especially for Trust the Process's backline.
Yeah, a little bit of an aborted attempt at a TP there from Infected, and puts them very firmly in danger. It's only the immortality that keeps them alive in this, but they're happy to keep on rolling. A couple more swings through, we'll see them secure the ultimate. Level 1 Crook's immortality field down, Upside down here as well. Honestly, I think despite the fact you've got the ultimate online, Trust the Process are going to struggle to get back in here with the punching power of the Symmetra, and maybe we see a swap in this fight.
Yeah, we're going to see them back out too, and now Dice Gaming has the choke point if they want it. They'll choose to give it up for the moment, though, as I mean, now Dice Gaming, again, they have the objective advantage in the sense that, Trust the Process has to walk into a lot of these resources. And Jaru, yeah, you have the Shatter, but that Photon Barrier does such a good job of blocking things out. Keep an eye out on Holy Pig, though, because if that Blizzard isn't denied, that could be the win condition they're looking for.
Okay, and Matrix out first, shattered down from Jaru, deals with Frosted, but Aspen stays alive and drops the beat, keeps Dice Gaming alive through this. Dollar answers back as well, and Infected is not having a good time right now, trying to play in the snow globe. Infected down to Jaru, and it is the Photon Barrier and the Blizzard here from Trust the Process that really cracked this open for them. That's going to be them securing the point here for Dice Gaming. They've gotten almost all the way to last fight territory, arguably in last fight territory. So they only need to win one more fight and win this. And Trust the Process, it's on them to keep this held.
Yeah, I will say, though, retaking into a rush composition can be very difficult. So just by nature of inertia, it really could favor Trust the Process to get to that final fight territory of their own in this particular one. Jaru, significantly ahead of Infected, by virtue of staying alive. So keep an eye on the Shatter as well. And if that self-destruct goes to the backline and forces the Rhine to turn around, could open up for an easy Shatter play.
Yeah, crucially, Upsal just took down the teleporter, so look for a TP teleporter play. And that's unfortunate for Jaru, gets caught out there, gets stunned, and having a whale of a time on that one. Trusting with the self-destruct takes Aspen out of it and makes that roughly even here. Immortality field, and now the supercharger out from level 1 Crook. Dice Gaming make their way out of the direct line of sight here, so level 1 Crook buying some time to keep control here, takes out Zero, takes out the mech, Upstal's back and Frosted's down. Dice Gaming start to push back in a little ways here, and Infected will find 2, but Trust the Process doing a very good job here of kiting, baiting Dice Gaming in, and finally the pick is the DPS that get the damage done here in the final fight, and Trust the Process maintain their grasp on the points.
Infected never got fully healed up, so was not able to really take the lead in that brawl, leaving it to the rest of the team. And unfortunately, that meant that Trust the Process did not really have to worry about focus fire. Look at that shield for Infected, already broken, it feels like, as they open up with the Photon Barrier.
Photon Barrier will buy them some cover here, but of course they've got to get into range of Trust the Process, and that's a dangerous place to be. Shatter down. Immortality field keeps Jaru up alive momentarily, but Aspen scores a big boop, and that's 2 down. Jaru backs away from the point, and the Holy Pig is down to Elva here as well. The flip comes through, and Dice Gaming have this in hand. Trust the Process needs to tag to keep their hopes alive on this sub point.
Oh, this is a big problem actually for Dice Gaming, because with Zero having the Meteor Strike available, can play extremely aggressively. Back to going to catch out Dala, and Aspen sitting on the flank going for the environmental kills. Dice Gaming in the lead with the advantage in numbers.
Good swaps here from Trust the Process. They're back in on mobility heroes. Trust me, and Jaru got back in here and are here to keep this alive that little bit longer. Level 1 crit closing in on an amplification matrix, but there's just not the point presence there for Trust the Process, and they will give over the point here on Gardens. On Night Market, sorry.
Yeah, Aspen just a clutch play there, right? With the sound wave from the Lucio. Sometimes, an unmitigated victory in a fight is as easy as just have your main support get close to the edge with the displacement ability, and Dice Gaming make the most of their lead that they then generate from resources. We move on to Control Center, so we will remain in that mirror. We will remain with that Reinhardt composition. And I have to say, in the straight brawl head-to-head, Trust the Process has been just in the same, conversation, but Dice Gaming has extended a lot of fights and given themselves more opportunities, based off environmentals. We'll see if that adaptation, can be resolved as we move to a more close point here.
Nice wall there, will separate 2 from Dice Gaming from the rest of the team, but that's going to be Infected backpedaling significantly here. Jaru gives over again, Ludo's face, gets booped out of the way, and Upsal and Dollar both down to Infected and Elva. Respectively, Jaru down here as well. Dice Gaming, again, very clean, very clever on this first attack.
It felt like everyone Trust the Process forgot Infected existed after walking out of White Room. Went back to the objective and was like, all right, I guess the Reinhardt's gone. But instead, Infected went for a pin and got a kill, and now Dice Gaming back in the choke point with the lead. Infected gonna have a shatter here very swiftly as well.
And of course, they've got that TP there to tag back in and contest point and get out of the way of the incoming damage from Trust the Process, and they have done just that. So Dice Gaming now holding back on the point. Look out for entry into the point being a little bit tricky here for Trust the Process. punch through from Zero right in behind them, lands the punch, and at least contributes a little bit there to the kill coming through from Ubso. Still in the back, gets spooked out of the way and can't land that connection, but still causing damage and staying alive and generating shields. Trust me, in the mech and down and out, forced to reset here. Dice Gaming still in control.
I think the thing I like the most about how Dice Gaming is winning these fights is that they've been very confident with their approach, right? Not letting Trust the Process really get into a situation where they're able to take that true 6v6. And Dice Gaming now, I mean, it's been somewhat uncontested on these fights. So we'll see how well they can walk back in. A big wall to separate the front line.
Yeah, and a big pin comes through as well. Jaru down to 0, Infected down to 0 as well here. And Holy Pig closing in on having a blizzard. Once that photon barrier is down, that'll be a lot easier to commit, but it's 0 with the big connect on the Meteor Strike that rounds out that fight. And this is familiar territory based on that last round. It's 70% and climbing here for Dice Gaming. We're very close to the end of this one.
The difference is this time Trust the Process has no presence on the objective, and they need to win this fight. They need to win this fight or the map is over. They have all the tools they need, but they need to get into position to use them. And, I mean, Holy Pig needs to land a blizzard of a lifetime to get themselves just onto the objective, never mind a fight win.
Yeah, look, oh, nice TP up onto the high ground there, but now they've got to deal with the self-destruct, and a beautiful pin there takes Jaru out of the fight, but it is traded out as Elba's down here as well. We get the sound barrier out, and we get the blizzard out, we get the amplification matrix at 95%. If you trust the process, you've got to trust the ultimates here. It's the only thing keeping you in this one. 0 down to level 1 Crook, and Infected having to shield for all their work. Blocked from getting out of that one by the ice block from Holy Pig. That's Infected out of this one. Trust the process with a momentary window to a win here. They will secure the flip, and just some madness going on right now, Lafon.
Yeah, they're going to allow the rest of the Dice Gaming squad to exit and regroup, recuperate, if you will. Eyes on Moser, though, the amplification matrix here, the damage throughput is going to be intense, and Trust the Process have nothing else to respond to it. I mean, Dice Gaming have every advantage in their hand in this last fight.
They do. TP in, but the TP was a bait. They don't go through it. Wall comes up to block the amplification matrix, and Jaru finds Elba that gives their life for that particular exchange. Frosted in a little bit of trouble here, care of the beam damage that can't be negated by that defense matrix, but the kills keep coming through for Dice Gaming regardless. So Trust the Process, they've got 35%, but I think that's about all they're getting here. Trust me, will eventually work down Infected, but Dice Gaming now have the numbers to make this work. Jaru back in the self-destruct finds nothing there, Trust me, and Zero's able to find Trust me whilst out of the mix. Sound barrier out for Dice Gaming, keeps Frosted alive through this. Trust the Process have actually not given over this one as quickly as I thought they would. They dig deep, they battle back, and they maintain possession here.
They've actually put themselves right back in this map as a result. Zero going to try and go for some kills, nearly puts himself off the map instead. But as the brawl goes down, I mean, Dice Gaming losing players here.
I believe Jaru was interrupted in the middle of that ultimate. The punch connected and that didn't come through. So that is Jaru out of this one. Another blizzard from Holy Pig, very quickly generated and Infected. A very real risk of getting frozen up, but trust me, and Ubsal continue to find kills here. Trust me, out of mech, but Dice Gaming still battling their way backwards. Infected, frozen, charges out, but couldn't reach the health back in time. Ubsal on an absolute tear here, pushing forward with the rest of their team. They're back like the wind in their sails. Here they are, ready to hold the choke and take us through to the next round. It's 92%, and Trust the Process are in control.
Now who's going to be the one to touch the objective? It's not going to be Frosted off the map. Dollar with
what a wall. What a wall.
Just no attention to detail from Dice Gaming at the very end there, Phil. And I have to say, in most cases, you know, you would expect in 100 to 99 to feel that it was a close round, but we had a flip of, on one side, it was Dice Gaming for the first half of the round who were in control, and then Trust the Process just took it back and said, you're not taking it from us. And Dice Gaming really had no response, even as they kind of half won a fight. They just could never get those final eliminations to flip the point back, and Trust the Process playing off the reset very well as we move to the third round here on Lijiang Tower.
And Infected looking to come out here on the Wrecking Ball. A very strong Wrecking Ball map is Lijiang Gardens. Jaru sticking on the tide and tried and tested Reinhardt here. Let's see who wins out on this one, because Infected will have a lot of space control. But TP allows Trust the Process to get in nice and early and set up a effective defensive bunker, and those turrets will require bypassing here. Infected gets into the back and at the very least takes out the teleporter, which makes this continuous recontest from Trust the Process that little bit harder. Infected in, lands the power driver, gets a couple, but receives the business end of the freeze and is down and out. It is a rough time to be a wrecking ball into sim turrets and a freeze. I'm expecting TrqstTheProcess to win this one out, even as Elba lands a few sticky bombs into this one.
Yeah, the health pool advantage is just too strong, and you have no disruption with the wrecking ball. The fight's not technically over, but the point does go over to TrqstTheProcess. Dice Gaming continue to poke, looking for that elimination, that first elimination that allow them into the objective.
Yeah, that's a big barrage of stickies there. Nice follow-up there with the focusing beam. Will allow Elba to get most of the way to the ultimate, and we'll find a pick there. Level 1 Crook down, but they lose Infected here. Elba can potentially make something big happen here and picks up the Diva for the duplicate here. So looking for a self-destruct nice and quickly. Get in, force out some resources, burn through shielding, force walls out of the duplicate already. And I think maybe didn't get enough value with that duplicate here as Holy Pig nails them with a right click from the Icicle and comes out of this fight with a blitz. Actually, not going to come out of this fight, going to stay in this fight with the Blizzard just to have a bit of sense of certainty, looking to find the mercy on the back end of that one, and Aspen escapes cleanly.
I mean, this fight was over after the duplicate failed to find any eliminations, but TrqstTheProcess, do commit a couple more resources here, so they'll really only have tank ultimates coming to this next one. Unfortunately for them, or I suppose unfortunately for Dice Gaming, they don't really have much to take advantage of this newfound lead in the resource bank. And I mean, Infected's minefield likely to be able to be quickly dispersed by the cleave damage of the Reinhardt.
Yeah, let's see if they can maybe get a sneaky kill onto a low HP target whilst that's going on. It has at the very least split the team. That's TrqstMe and Giroux playing in two very different parts of the map. And Upsol down to the minefield and the immortality field used up. We will have the amplification matrix up. The wall momentarily makes that a little hard to take advantage of. Moza finds level 1 Crook, but TrqstTheProcess are still in control and they are happy to keep fighting here and drag out resources. Dollar commits the sound barrier here. We'll keep Holy Pig alive a little bit longer here, so expect this to get all the way to 99 before the flip comes through, but I just don't think TrqstTheProcess have the numbers to keep control of the points.
No, they don't. Point?
Yeah, that was nearly a classic Charlie Niner.
That would have been, if that had ticked away, that absolutely would have been an original vintage C9. So good to see that Dice Gaming got back to the objective and saved themselves from ridicule for that. A mistake, not one you want to make. Now, TrqstTheProcess here, they only have to win one fight, right? Yeah. So no matter how confident they are in this, I expect them to try and put as much pressure into this fight as possible just to force Dice Gaming to use more resources.
Yeah, big stick, and I think without Dollar here to add that mobility and additional healing, you probably want out of this fight. And Dice Gaming absolutely can push in here and start to pressure TrqstTheProcess and push out resources, and maybe even just find Dollar on the way back into this fight.
Yeah, I mean, TrqstTheProcess are electing to let their Lucio kind of be bait in the main line as they just walk to the objective. Self-destruct in, though.
Ooh, that's difficult. Level 1 Crook caught between a rock and a hard place. Self-destruct of no longer available for TrqstMe. Giroux drops the hammer to little to no avail. They've lost too many players here. They're not going to commit any more to this. They don't really have any more to commit to this one. Giroux desperately trying to get out, but Zero and Infected on the hunt take care of that.
This actually might be a disaster of a fight that TrqstTheProcess may come to regret, because now their Transcendence is used for Moser. I was going to say they may come to regret that fight because it'll be final fight territory when the next two teams approach each other. But Dice Gaming just got rid of one of their best defensive utilities. I did not see how or why, but nonetheless, that is just not available to them. So Dice Gaming going to have to survive without any healing bar the Valkyrie from Aspen.
Okay, well, Elva with a lot of responsibility here needs to come up big here with the self-destruct just to stop Dice Gaming in their tracks. Look for them to try and pick up maybe the Reinhardt here. Blizzard's out early. Elva picks up the Reinhardt, but does find themselves in the middle of the freeze for now. Momentarily slows their roll, and now face-to-face with the wall. Does find Holy Pig, and will have a shatter to come through. That sound barrier lands from Dollar, which means the follow-up from that hammer down not going to be all that impressive, but TrqstTheProcess need a couple more kills here. Dollar finds Frosted over the side as Elvis dugs back around this right-hand side. Doesn't land the stickies. Does get enough damage in here to momentarily make things a little dicey here for TrqstTheProcess, but it is 99 to 99 with Dice Gaming in charge of this one. Moser back in with the Transcendence. Not long for this world, however, as the charge and the focus damage from TrqstMe takes Moser out, and now both supports off the table for Dice Gaming. TrqstTheProcess now with a really good chance to level this one out and take the point. I can't even tell if they've capped this one. It looks like they have TrqstTheProcess back in charge. They've got the kills, they've got the resources, they've got the time on the point, and that's where it ticks down. TrqstTheProcess in a very close map take Li Jiang.
That was a very, very close match, actually, on this on Lijiang Tower, and I mean, in the end, it was the fact that TrqstTheProcess was able to walk to the objective and just hold with that sustain. Right, Dice Gaming just did not have enough explosive damage to deal with that final fight. Aspen, nice big clutch there with the double kill. Sound barrier to keep everyone alive, and then just continue to be irritating, take down another player. So big ups to the main support there, who came up in a big way. And I mean, I with a map that was as close as Lijiang Tower is, we should have a very good series on our hands.
Yeah, it's. I sometimes think it's a little bit tricky to like categorically say, oh, team A won control, therefore they're the better team here. And that's even when it goes to like 100-0 both times. When it is 99-100 in, I think that was all 3 of those maps were 99-100. Like, that is a very strong promise that what we've got here is what they may call a banger of a match. And this is kind of what we're hoping for. We hyped this up at the start of this match as like, this is probably the one to watch here in this broadcast section. So yeah, looks like we've got a lot of good stuff ahead of us.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not inconceivable that we would see these two teams face off against each other later on, right?
Yes.
It is technically possible for that to happen. So we'll see. We do have to deal with the current matter, which is map number 2 coming through in a moment. We'll get to that in a second. But, to your point, of course, about the fact that it was 199, I would like to put a small caveat on that point. Despite it being a close map, by numbers, the way we arrived at it being a close map was a little bit different. I think that third round was the closest the map had been. Unfortunately, I would not say the same for Control Center. It flipped one way, and then after it flipped back in, it was kind of one-sided on that on sort of that front, where TrqstTheProcess took that 100 back to their own name. So coming into the next map type, which is going to be a map type based around hybrid, based around the payload, based around sort of moving an objective forward. I'm curious if we're going to see any compositional differences here as well, because that also, I think, pays a little bit of a mind to how we can kind of contextualize sort of the statistical setup of the match. Again, we only saw one dive composition in map number 1.
I think certainly as far as TrqstTheProcess goes, what we can expect to see, I think, depends a little bit on which particular tank duo we have in the lineup, right? Because Jaru is what's the best way to phrase this? Like a classic Reinhardt tank player. Yes, I know for a fact that they can play other tanks to a very high degree, but I think it's maybe even fair to call him a Reinhardt specialist, like certainly the hero you most associate with. If we see Crandot come into the lineup, I think we start to see a few more of those Wrecking Ball compositions, maybe even some Orisa compositions. Like, I feel like for this team, that's how that tank lineup is split. And so once we know which main tank is playing, I think we'll have a better idea of what to expect, at the very least, from TrqstTheProcess.
Yeah, I mean, stability is, to put that on Dice Gaming side, stability is the name of the game for their squad. We know that once they're in, they're capable of, flexing around if they need to. The fact that they weren't able to eke out that win on map number 1, though, I think speaks a little bit ill of their chances moving forward, if only because that flexibility steps into TrqstTheProcess's side if they choose, to kind of change up their roster. So far, though, there has been an element of, shall we say, missed opportunities or missed assignments from the front line for Dice Gaming. A lot of the time, the shift from Infected has been the primary tool by which the Reinhardt has generated damage. So and it has kind of cost them a couple of fights in that. So coming into the next map, if that gets reined in a little bit, give them a little bit more survivability, then maybe in a couple of these 50-50 fights, Dice Gaming can actually bring it back, which would give them a better opportunity to find victory.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the veteran nature of a lot of the players on Dice Gaming, like, they absolutely have the mental tools here to make that analysis and decisions for themselves and make sure that they've got the right composition for the right situation. And that situation being Rialto as we move into our payload map for this particular matchup. And of course, this is a loser pick format, so this is Dice Gaming's pick of map here, which you got to wonder what exactly their plan is for this one.
Honestly, it takes every ounce of my being to not say success, because now no substitutes to the eye here. So we're gonna continue to see Trust the Process run. Trust me and Jaru on that front line. And I mean, for Rialto, the opportunity to run Wrecking Ball is quite high. A lot of angles that you can approach quite rapidly, and more critically, you can set up multiple attack vectors via the Wrecking Ball and the Tracer, right? You can both approach from different angles, and really make things difficult for the opposition, both offense and defensive sided. We're seeing Dice Gaming obviously set up on the defense first, but for Trust the Process, a little bit more stability, a little bit more straight line approach. You have a front line, stick with it. Let's see how well they do.
Okay, so we're looking for Dice Gaming here to be the aggressors. Wait for that Wrecking Ball Tracer Echo comp to find some damage and squish somebody off the Trust the Process payload. Let's see how that works out for them here. And it's actually BiggHungry Frosted that finds the first pick here, maybe not expected as Quartz currently playing this upsell early out of the fight. Moser finds level 1 Crook, and for Dice Gaming, that's the signal to go. Right, in you go, clean up the rest of this one, drag it out, make sure that there's no chance of them coming back into this one without a full reset. Great play here from Dice.
The execution timing there from Dice Gaming, just spectacular, right? The opening pick comes in, everyone else is right there as it happens, so it's just a clean start for them. Not much else to add about that fight, but keep an eye out on Elva, who did a ton of damage. That opening is going to have, they're going to have the duplicate like right now, 7% away. Yeah, it is basically online.
Yeah, I don't think any of those stick is connected, but like just passively, you've got this in the next 10 seconds. Like that's going to be a real difference maker in this one. High ground control already. Pick up a tank, give yourself a big HP advantage and utility advantage, and see where you go from there. And that's the duplicate online. Currently, no real pressure to use it, although the payload is making a bit of progress here. Actually forced into it. Picks up the Baptiste here, very unexpected. Uses the Immortality Field immediately. And I don't know that we've seen a lot of contribution either in damage or healing there, but at the very least it did keep Elva in this fight and make sure they didn't lose that player advantage, and it allows them to stabilize a little bit here. But they have lost Zera here, so Trust the Process with a favorable respawn, likely to be favored in this next exchange.
The only thing is that the high ground is still being controlled by Dice Gaming. They haven't really been forced away from it, mostly by virtue of the mobility to regain there. And Moser has the Transcendence here, so an extended fight is going to favor this Zen in the long-standing ability to heal the team.
Okay, well, that Bob's going to make life a little bit harder here for Elva, and Aspen is already out of this one, so that pocket now completely out of pocket here. So it's down to Infected to land a big minefield here, but Elva can't escape up, so Quartz, as it were, chases them out and takes them out of this one. Moses is able to take Quartz out of it as well, and Infected with a minefield that's still in play finds additional picks. The Transcendence from Moser allows what's left of Dice Gaming and Frosted to close in and look for some additional kills, but they go right into the line of fire of Trust Me's Gravitic Flux. Frosted survives through that, but it is difficult with the force of progress that Trust the Process are making here for them to really push back and stop Trust the Process capping this one. Quartz coming back in on the Soldier just to get onto the point that a little bit quicker. Finds the stick nice and solid. Like, I love the patience there on that one, but Trust the Process have got the kills here, and there's the cap on A.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a war of attrition there for Dice Gaming, and Trust the Process just has more utility to sustain through. And once they get to the choke point, Infected's utility at the disruption just basically gets entirely nullified by the geometry of the map. So Dice Gaming run out of literally space to make that work. And now they're running out of space figuratively as they just end up losing another player. And we'll have to kind of take a more delayed fight. Though Holy Pig being forced to recall is a good start.
2 HP, very nearly didn't get out of that one, but big high ground control here from Trust the Process with level 1 crits. Amplification Matrix making it that much harder for Dice Gaming to even pop their head up a parapet on that one, and Frosted just chased down into the deeps here by Holy Pig, who will have the pulse ready to go, crouching, looking for somewhere to stick this, ideally somebody with less than 400 HP's worth of health. As they see Moser, might not go for that one, but certainly making use of themselves. Lands the stick onto Elva and down they go, but I don't think they can camp this and secure the interrupt of the Resurrect, which puts Elva back in the fight. They do manage to give their lives for that as Tristram comes in with the Gravitic Flux. Upso, I didn't know you could make that jump on a Soldier. That is sick, right over the top. Lands a pick, gets punished for it, but that was super cool from Quartz.
Moser trying to make this fight a legitimate sustain. Wow. Gets another one. That's 2 for the Zen.
Jaru fortifying toe-to-toe with Moser. I know who's got the HP advantage in that one, and Dice Gaming really don't want to give this one up, Lafon. They are throwing everything at this to push Trust the Process back, and they are finding picks here, but now that Jaru's got that supercharger online, oh, well, and immediately offline as well as Elba takes that out. It feels like Dice Gaming have the numbers advantage now, but Trust the Process still digging deep and still refusing to die around this payload. Frosted out a mech, and they may just turn this one around, but they started this fight with a numbers disadvantage.
They are going to bring this one back in the barest attempt there. There's a big double kill with the melee from both Holy Pig and Absol. I mean, that was a skirmish in all senses of the word, but unfortunately for Dice Gaming, they just couldn't stabilize enough to get all 6 players back. And so that's going to be the reason. Now, I mean, Trust the Process on winning that fight, win it out, as you said, at a disadvantage, but because it was a disadvantage, the players that weren't there have their ultimate still, and they're going to get that early pickoff as Jaru takes a final blow into Elva, and they get to deny the res. This is looking really good for Trust the Process here.
Yeah, classic aggression here, not letting Dice Gaming really regroup and get themselves back into this one. That was a difficult thing to gauge, and that was a great try from Trust Me, but yeah, shield in the face of the landing self-destruct, very difficult, and Dice Gaming are starting to come back into this one as Moser gets rezzed, and it's allowed them to re-pick that tempo and mount themselves around the cart. But Trust the Process expect them to start to push back very quickly, and Quartz lands the pick. Moser is down already, so close to the Transcendence as well here, so it's open season here, not a lot that can stand in the way of this tactical visor. Frosted has to back away, Elba takes a lot of damage, and then everyone is playing around cover, and it's bought a lot of space here for Trust the Process.
And it's moved the cart forward quite a bit as well, as there's the Ant Matrix to move things in further evil. Still, reminded the minefield coming in from Infected to just buy space on the cart, but this is going to favor the defense with that pickoff on to Frosted.
Well, duplicated Gravitic Flux certainly buys some space and a couple of kills on the back end of that one as Moser takes Trust Me out of the fight. So expect Dice Gaming to solidify here. And Trust the Process in this next fight, they've only really got the rally to play with, and I don't know that that's enough to win out a defensively favored fight.
You cannot be losing players there, especially with how close Rialto's third objective is, the spawns for the defenders, right? So looking forward to see which pickoff comes in. The Holy Pig, 2 HP, forced to recall, Pulse Bomb at the ready.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of times, and will actually land the Pulse Bomb, takes Aspen out of it, but they've already traded out Quartz, and now Moser's back in with the Transcendence yet again. So difficult to do sufficient damage through that to win out a team fight, and that was a world of airtime there from Infected. You'll believe a Wrecking Ball can fly, and Dice Gaming maintain their hold on the payload. Zero finds Jaru, and Infected comes out of this with a minefield. No need to use that just yet. And Lafon, we're now down below the 1 minute marker here, and Dice Gaming look properly entrenched.
Yeah, Dice Gaming are also doing a thing where they're not particularly worried about straight up winning the fight unharmed. They're taking trades 1 for 1 and relying on their defensive advantage. The spawn distance being much closer to win them fights as well. Keep an eye out for that here as well for the minefield. If they can use that in the choke, get an early pickoff and try and extend the fight to the end of the marker here.
Oh, there's the minefield, nice wide spread, and we will see the pile driver land, but that's a lot of stone coming the way of Infected, takes them out of this one. They'll be back lickety split, don't you worry, and Trust the Process starting to throw resources at this supercharger. Tactical visor, Pulse Bomb on this as well. Quartz not able to get too much done with that one, and sure, Trust the Process get a couple of picks on this one, but I don't know that they got the numbers here to secure this. Crook down, Quartz finding picks, but Gravitic Flux from the duplicated Sigma means that there's just no chance of them keeping themselves on the point. Jaru's back on the ball, but another Gravitic Flux on the table stops them from keeping themselves on the payload, and that is as far as it goes. Less than 1 meter, Lafon, from a cap on C for Trust the Process.
Alva with the absolutely just carry plight in the last moments there. Gets a double elimination, dodges the tactical visor as well for a long period of time. The resurrect comes in, the duplicate on top of it. Elva with just a masterclass on the DPS role for Dice Gaming to give themselves that hold. And yeah, it is at less than a meter. We have to highlight the fact that Rialto is so difficult to capture. Yeah. This is still doable for Trust the Process, no mistake about it, but Dice Gaming really feel like they found their groove in how they're approaching fights, and those skirmish fights are going to favor themselves on offense a little bit more, especially on that first point. And if they can get a good time bank moving into second, then they have a real chance of just steamrolling their way through this map.
Yeah, and much like what we saw from GeForce in the previous round, like Dice Gaming seem to have found or certainly aiming for a composition that looks a lot like what we expect from a very meta composition with the Wrecking Ball and Zenyatta, and it is working out for them so far. I don't really think that Trust the Process did enough to force them off that, whilst Trust the Process are coming in again with this double shield format. And it's very interesting to me to see this clash of styles, because we have on the one hand a somewhat spam-heavy, somewhat static composition from Trust the Process and high mobility composition for Dice Gaming, and the interaction of how both of these two comps works is really interesting stuff to watch.
It is. I think the one thing that's Trust the Process is kind of... Oh, goodbye. Moser has been taking these very aggressive sight lines all game long. In map number 1, they were working out really well, able to generate, ult charge very quickly. Here in map 2, Trust the Process is like, all right, settle down a little bit. We still have capability of taking you out, right?
Yeah,
I'm
sure if we didn't have Matt Chat muted, we'd have got a sit at the end of that one.
Oh man. Still, Moser, I don't think it'll be really Oh, that is a nice shot from Upsal.
Wow! Huge stuff there from Quartz. 0 down again. Elva again in the back here on the left-hand side, spamming in from range, struggling a little bit to generate ult charge. Not really much in the kill feed right now, as Trust the Process are making slow and steady progress on the cart. Elva's struggling here. There's just so much in the way that interferes with the damage from the Echo that they're not really finding the value they might like. Zero's able to find Trust Me here, and that is the first dink in the armor of Trust the Process. Jaru answers back, and Elva still again over the top, struggling with damage, but slowly working their way up here. But whilst all this has been going on, whilst Elva's trying to find value here, Trust the Process have just picked apart the rest of Dice Gaming.
Yeah, big concern I have here for Dice Gaming with this composition is they're not moving very quickly at all. They're allowing Trust the Process to reset their resources. And I mean, sure, Trust Me gets taken out, but we're gonna get a pause, so that's going to be a little unfortunate for my train of thought. To the point, though, that's happening in that fight, yes, the fight extends for so long that by the point that the health pool advantage is it's lost by Dice Gaming. The other thing too is they're taking a lot of spam on the entry, so they're not able to really full commit. We saw in that backline going Upsal's shot onto Zira. The Tracer, it's a nice shot onto the Tracer, make no mistake about it, but the Widow's also not being contested that much and is given a lot of opportunities to take those shots. The opening one was very nice on the Tracer, but the fact that you're able to take consistent shots means that there's just been not enough pressure from the rest of the Dice Gaming squad. And as a result, they're kind of in a bit of an isolated position. Contrast how they've approached this first fight here on their offense with how they approached the first fight on defense, right? And it's a world of difference. And Dice Gaming, as a result, just a little bit of a lockout here from them on the offensive side of the map.
Yeah, and I wonder. So the Widow pick is quite a greedy pick here, right? Because you only offer one real utility, which is that instant kill that Widowmaker is famous for, as opposed to an Ashe that can help burn down tanks and pressure shields and has the ability to reposition that a little more quickly and interrupt dives. I kind of wonder, was Quartz expecting to have spent quite so long on the Widowmaker? Or was that I'll get a couple of picks, sure, they'll focus me, and then I'll come back on a Tracer or an Ashe, something that has a little more classic synergy with these lineups? Because you're right, they haven't been challenged. They've been, even when they have been challenged, they've won those 1v1s. When Elva went to deal with them, when Zero went to deal with them, they were just all right, dink, and won it just as simple as that.
I mean, at this level, no, the truth is that you go into picking the character because you think it's the best chance at finding victory. I don't know that you go in thinking, all right, I'm gonna get 1 or 2 picks, especially on the defense. I don't think that's the thought process. I think genuinely, it feels like because they're having that setup that's so aggressive with their front line, it allows Upsal to play either very, very passively, which forces the dive to deal with the Widow, go very far into the back line and try and take the fight there, or the dive composition tries to deal with the front line, and I mean at that point Upsal only has to take 1 shot on the Tracer, and so far has proven to be good for it.
Yeah, and to put even more paid to my theory that maybe they weren't expected to be on this as long, Upsal unfortunately forced to reset the router and is now back again on the Widowmaker. So a momentary advantage for Dice Gaming, but Upsal will be back and in range incredibly quickly as Elva is down once again. My guys, you've got to do something to check Quartz here, because he is picking you apart at the seams.
Widow shoot good, so the fight over. Sometimes my job is easy like that, but no, I jest.
That's why we pay you the big bucks, Lafon. That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Sometimes you gotta chuckle at the game, right? There was a close moment, but Ask makes it around the corner just in time. And I mean, you can see the confidence from the Widowmaker playing very aggressively because they know the support's there from the team. And I mean, TrqstTheProcess has not really needed to commit to these fights with those resources. So in the fight that Dice Gaming needs to win here, where they have those check marks online, TrqstTheProcess has a response for each and every one of them.
Okay, well, Dice Gaming is that it's time to go. It's time to roll the dice, as it were, and they're committing ultimates into this one as the minefield comes through. Aspen with the Valkyrie, Moser with the Transcendence as well. Elva goes to the Duplicate, picks up the Tracer, and we are seeing some kills come through now. That's Crook down, the stick lands, and Elva suddenly takes over proceedings. Frosted's going to take Jaru down. Moser res up by Aspen. But yeah, that was, for a show that has been all about Quartz so far, that was a heck of a turn-up from Elva.
Yeah, Elva got tired of us praising just the one DPS player, and so let me step up in a big way. There's still a recontest available for TrqstTheProcess. Keep an eye out on the Tracer, right? A Holy Pig on the flank will like to contest here, I think. And yeah, TrqstTheProcess going for the play.
Yeah, Jaru in, but that Orb of Discord makes even an Orisa easy pickings for a full team at the choke. TrqstTheProcess, I think, in a good position to burn some time off this clock, but ultimately I think TrqstTheProcess have a pretty good handle on this one. Moser gets forced out, and I believe that is all just natural shield regen healing at Moser right now, because Aspen kind of has her hands full right now. And
there we go. That's the roll everyone.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, very close to going the other way, but Dice Gaming roll that out. Quartz getting one on the back end just to remind everybody that they're still on the Widowmaker.
And at this point, you know, TrqstTheProcess has kind of done what they needed to on that first point. They put it down to the last 30 seconds of the objective, so time really not on Dice's side. Upsal going to switch over to the Cassidy, more mid-range damage. You know, obviously the stun available on the roll-through for Infected or Zira, so just more stability here in the mid-fight. I mean, that being said, Dice Gaming still putting a lot of pressure. There's another minefield from Infected, and will stay alive on top of it. So this is big for Dice Gaming as they try and move forward here. And
of course, they've got additional resources to throw at that. We've got both support tools on the table. So now they've only got the Duplicate closing in on having a pulse bomb as well. But having thrown that at this fight, it does feel like that should go the way of Dice Gaming. But TrqstTheProcess, with a slightly more slow and steady composition, are slowly grinding this one out. Moser down. Upsal rolls out the way the incoming damage from Infected and from Elva. Pulse Bomb not going to land on that one. Zira gets the better of Holy Pig, and Infected still alive, takes advantage of that health pool, and what an amplification matrix here. That double-sided damage boost does so much for TrqstTheProcess in that fight.
Yeah, it's a stain there from Dice Game. They're just not able to take those players out quickly enough before, you know, the survivability utility comes back for TrqstTheProcess. Not even going to allow Frosted the dignity of escaping with their life, going to put them down. And now, I mean, TrqstTheProcess, trust me, going over to the D.Va again. So this has gotten even more difficult for Dice Gaming. They're really all about being very quick on the execute, getting those assassinations, and winning from there. With Trust Me on the D.Va, you're going to deny a lot of that here.
Nicely done there. That's a 1-for-1 trade on supports as the High Noon takes Aspen out of this one. No self-res here, and Quartz camping in the background, just wants to try and pressure out Elba, but has been spotted, and there's a lot of potential damage coming their way, and the stickies connect. Zira gets the follow-up, and that is Quartz out of this one. So Dice Gaming, momentarily, the pendulum swings back in their favor as they look to retake this high ground. TrqstTheProcess backpedal somewhat and drop to the bottom of the stairs. Again, just looking to burn time off the clock. They've got 23 seconds left to hold, and there is a lot of cart progress still required. It might only be one corner, but it's a hard corner to push into, particularly as Jaru drops the supercharger, and things get a little spicier here for Dice Gaming on the offense. They are closing in on some ults of their own, so expect a big Q festa, but Holy Pig with the double. Moser and Frosted down. Frosted raised back into this one, and they're relying on Elf with a Duplicate onto the D to get something done here. Quartz down to Zira, and Dice Gaming slam Q, and they're suddenly finding a lot of value on this one. Jaru having to shield dance for all their worth, gets out of the range of the self-destructors. Dollar finds the double with a rally, swinging ever forward onto this one. Zero lands another pulse bomb. Jaru still in this one, right up against the head hitbox here of Elva, and they may just solidify here. That Transcendence a little bit too slow to allow Infected to survive. Quartz is back on the Bastion. Overtime ticks down. And trust the process, Lafon. They're moving forward to match points.
Yeah, Zero tried to claw that one back, but it's the Tracer from Holy Pig that really set the stage for success. A Pulse Bomb for 2. You can only res 1. And Trust the Process will turn those numbers advantage into a victory on the second map here. Dice Gaming on the precipice of victory multiple times, Phil, but just not able to convert it into a completion, meaning that they are at match point. It is a 2-0 in a series that has been ultimately very close. Still, a long road ahead if Dice Gaming want to bring it back and stay on the upper bracket.
Yeah, reverse sweep is definitely a thing. Let's see if Dice Gaming have the energy reserves to make that happen when we return from our break. Welcome back, everybody. Here we are, what is potentially the last map in this particular matchup. Trust the Process currently sitting at 2-0 as we move into our hybrid map. And, well, Quelle Surprise, Lafon, we're going to King's Row.
That is the site of our next one, and my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined as a result.
It's a little dramatic.
Kings, okay, it is a little dramatic, but you know, I live for the hyperbole, right? No, that being said, I think this is going to be the most interesting look we're going to get anyway, because King's Row historically a rush-based map. We've seen a lot of Reinhardt on here. As of late, it has been opened up to more double shield, especially on the defensive side of things. Something that Trust the Process was no stranger to in our previous endeavors in this series. And obviously, we've seen more Wrecking Ball-based compositions on attack, even on King's Row. There's been teams eschewing the Reinhardt entirely. So I'm curious: are either of our two squads here of that mindset, or will they return to the tried and true in the rush composition?
My gut feeling here is that whilst you can run the Wrecking Ball on King's Row across all 3 points if you really feel you have to, you've got to be a step above whatever your opponent is running to run it like at its peak level, and to run it without the classic difficulties that you associate with running a Wrecking Ball on King's Row. Like, for thinking particularly streets, it's difficult to find space to get big runs through, to find good pile driver initiations. And so, yeah, I think it's not always the most optimal thing, but given that it's primarily what we've seen, DICE Gaming, it wouldn't surprise me to see this be another Wrecking Ball map for them. And if we've still got Jaro in the lineup here for Trust the Process, we've got to get that rush comp, right? That's why he's playing here today.
I wouldn't be disappointed in seeing it. Certainly, I just again, that curiosity strikes me as it is wont to do. To the point of how we got here, though, Phil, we gotta take a quick gander back at the previous part of the series. How did DICE Gaming get to the position where they're 0-2 and forced to reverse sweep to keep themselves in the contention of the upper bracket? Well, Lijiang Tower was a close affair. We did get that 100 to 99 through most of the stages, and it was a 3-stage map. Unfortunately, just not able to close it out in those final moments, and obviously running out of steam a little bit on Rialto, it must be said, especially on their offensive side, not even able to capture the second point.
Yeah, and it feels like occasionally they were scrabbling for what the correct decision to make was. Like, we saw Quartz basically shut down 2 or 3 pushes in a row with the right pick at the right time on the Widowmaker, and there was never enough pressure sent his way. Like, a little bit of diversion of resources to go and take out Quartz and then win the 5v6. Yeah. I think probably would have been the way to do that. Instead, they were waiting on Elva to come in and have a pretty miraculous ultimate with Duplicate on the Echo. So I'd love to see a little bit more awareness from them of what the win condition actually is, rather than just trying to play for what their own composition's win condition is.
Yeah, I think the surprising thing on that point specifically is that we saw that style of gameplay from DICE Gaming in just the previous half, right? On the defense, they chose to play very aggressively, went for those pickoffs, and in fact was a large part of the reason why they were able to stymie the cart, prevented from getting that third point. So are they going to return to form here in map number 3 as we see our map set? King's Row is third in the sequence, because if DICE Gaming continues to play that passive style that they had on the offensive Rialto, this might just be that 3-0 shutout right here and now.
It is, and we were looking at, well, I was looking at the very least in my background research as to who these teams are and what to expect from them. To see DICE Gaming be a real contender here for number 1 at the end of this tournament, and that's certainly not beyond them, because a loss here is not the end of the road for them. It's just down into the lower bracket, where hopefully it's lessons learned and back up tomorrow. I was really hoping that they would be really pushing Trust the Process, just because, look at the names they've got here on their roster. Look at the sort of teams these guys have played before. So hopefully this is where things step up, and we're already seeing a different look for them, so it's not just going to be those Wrecking Ball comps.
No, it is going to be heading back to the sort of standard look that King's Row has, right? A little bit of a callback to the old school Overwatch, and no shade, of course. It's a great composition to run on King's Row. Elva playing a little bit of a Mystery Heroes, deciding what they want to run, but eventually settling on the Cassidy. It's just a good all-round selection here, and I mean, DICE Gaming, sure, they'll play a little bit aggressive first, look for that wall. You know how it goes. Try and isolate the main tank, burst down whoever gets brought out, and then kind of play off ultimate utility. Since then, Trust the Process is the same thing. The only difference is that it has to be much more close and in your face to get Upsal back into the position to deal damage.
Yeah, Reaper more or less a melee character at this point in the game. Not a lot of range on those shotguns, and it's a big confusing mess of the walls come up here. Jaru up on the high ground, lands the pin, gets booped, and Frosted saved there by the Immortality Field, and Infected is able to take Trust Me out of the mech. Trust the Process, yes, they can push in and start to take a little bit of space and challenge Dice Gaming, but they are down momentarily their Diva. Trust Me now back in the mech, and Dice Gaming to push back in here and start to recontest. Big charge again from Jaru. Connect has the shatter, but can't get it off. In fact, I believe interrupted in the middle of that shatter there. Very unfortunate. Upsal's able to find Elva here, but it's not going to matter too much as Trust the Process are forced to reset.
Yes, at the same instant the Q button was pressed by Jaru, the elimination came through as well, so no stuns given over. Dice Gaming do give up a full third of the objective, though, and we're seeing Elva make another switch here, so they want even further range, more spam as they're going over to the Hanzo. Isolated via the wall, but they'll be able to climb and get over the top and just completely ignore that.
Oh no, forced to use the high ground as a Hanzo. Whatever will Elva do? Sound barrier out from Aspen, and we'll see Elva forced to give up the high ground now, but the damage has been done. That's going to be Jaru down, Immortality Field already used up. Zera gets the freeze onto level 1 Crook, and that's them down, but Trust the Process found a couple of kills here. If they can regroup quickly and get back into this, this is their fight to take. But what a wall here from Zera. Stops Quartz getting out of that one, and so slows down the recall.
That being said, I mean, Holy Pig is just here on the high ground, just hanging out casually. And then we'll meet Elva, and Elva, actually, that was really cool. Hiding around the corner, uses the bounce ability of the Storm Arrow to finalize that elimination to Holy Pig from around the corner, so no line of sight, no chance of being eliminated. I mean, Dice Gaming have solidified their position on this map, and Trust the Process. I mean, sure, they have all the tools they need to. Keep an eye on Zera. For this Blizzard, you have the advantage with the opposition walking into you.
Well, let's see who drops what first. Sound barrier out from Dollar early, and Quartz, and everyone's favorite Goth, pulls the pin on the Death Blossom, finds one self-destruct from Trust Me. So Trust the Process, trust once again in the power of ultimates, and win that fight out cleanly, and it's on the streets.
I just like to think that everyone on Trust the Process is like smashing the Q button, like furiously all pounding it at the same time, just to make sure you're spamming the ability, see if it goes through. And I mean, in this instance, 4 is more than 2, and so 4 wins.
Ah, yes, the dreadful and inexorable algebra of Overwatch. More ultimates usually equals better. I'd like to think that more than just spamming Q, they all have a specific large Q button attached by USB they can slam. Or Dragon out from behind the wall momentarily prevents Jaru from getting out of the way, ducks into the side, but Elva's Dragon still finds Crook here, and so a lot of bursting off the table now for Trust the Process, forced to back out, particularly in the line of fire of that amplification matrix from Moza.
Holy Pig is just crouching in the corner, hoping no one notices they're there. Unfortunately, no such luck, and they'll be eliminated and staggered. So Dice give themselves a little bit more time here, and speaking of, time is not on Trust the Process's side. Sure, there is 250, which sounds like a lot until you realize that's only about 3.5 fights, and with Dice Gaming setting up so aggressively, you have to fight through a choke, which is going to take time to break as well. Trust the Process likely to walk in with the Ant Matrix to try and burst past those shields, and you can see Dice Gaming just giving up all of their space as a result.
Yeah, I think they understand that that's the game plan here, but the walls and the self-destruct come through. Nothing out of either of those ones just yet, but as the words leave my mouth, that's 2 kills on the table from Dice Gaming, and that's going to be the roundup here. Infected down at the back end of the fight. I don't think they're going to mind too much about that one. It's a slow burn here for Trust the Process on the way out. Jaru drops the hammer, and I don't know what he was thinking. There was no chance he was going to win that one.
I think the thought process was they're all close enough that if I land the shatter, it'll deal the 200 plus damage.
Of course.
Unfortunately, they weren't, so it did it, and it was just a wasted ultimate. Yeah, so Dice Gaming, you know, they're still going to reset here. The numbers aren't particularly advantageous. They're going to walk through in Zera looking for the Blizzard.
Zera forced into the ice block. Hammer down from Infected. A little more impactful, that one. Blizzard out from Zera as well. So, 2 kills so far, and Trust the Process, well, trusting they can pedal the way backwards fairly quickly here. I think we've got Quartz still out, or trying to get out. Looks like they were going to succeed on this one, but Dice Gaming with a pretty strong hold here on this first part of Streets.
Trust is holding on by a thread, by the way, to that mech, but we'll get the heal back. So level 1 Crook actually should have this Ant Matrix for his next fight. Now, I mean, Dice Gaming, they don't have much to work with here. They're likely trying to use this Deadeye to just buy time positioning and force TrqstTheProcess to over-commit. But again, with that Ant Matrix, with that Blizzard, it's going to be ideal. Still, Jaru down early.
I mean, what a flashbang. Jaru down, and TrqstTheProcess again. I don't think he would. They are still committing into this one, so the Death Blossom comes out, but it's the flashbang that kills Quartz here. The ultimate ignominy of taking the life of the Reaper with the flashbang is not something Quartz is going to be living down anytime soon.
Oh, and they're going to stagger the poor Diva here as well. Yeah, trust me, not gonna.
Yeah.
We're talking about the calculus of Overwatch earlier. It is not often that just the Deadeye will give you yourself your victory over that many opposing checkmarks, but Dice Gaming play the positional advantage to perfection. They don't allow TrqstTheProcess to walk in to use those resources, that utility, and now Dice Gaming have that advantage back in their hand, and they're going to open it up. Moser already using the Ant Matrix.
Man, great. Well, oh, that's huge. Frosted eats Holy Pigs, Blizzard, and Zero was able to get theirs online as well. And this is an absolute disaster here for TrqstTheProcess. They might get a touch here, but I don't think it's going to mean anything. That was so clean. Dice game.
I mean, even if they do get a touch, like they're still not going to have much in the terms of being able to just move. Is anyone even able to get out of the spawn?
No, I think Holy Pig just gets in on time, like by the slimmest of margins. Jaru back in with the shatter. It's got to be the fattest shatter, and dead in the middle of it yet again. Moser lands the headshot, and Jaru is down and out. Dice Gaming, they've got this in the bag, and this is not that hard a distance to beat on your offensive round. So TrqstTheProcess, if they want to win this one out here and not go to another map, they've got to have a full hold on A, pretty much.
This is the Dice Gaming we were looking for in those clutch moments, in those final moments on the previous two maps, right? In the fights that you just need to win, that you have to find a way to miraculously pull victory out of defeat. Dice Gaming just did not have it in them in the first two maps. Here on King's Row, they've stepped up, and if they can keep it going, they are right back in this series. Again, they do have to make it just to where the payload is currently, and they will find a victory. Again, that choke point for Dice Gaming, they played it excellently and find themselves in a much better position overall. Still, I mean, hey, TrqstTheProcess, not out of it yet. You just know they're like, all right, we're going for the full hold. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and I think they've demonstrated that they have the chops for that. Let's see what they're actually going to be able to spawn with. I didn't think we were going to get the Reinhardt Wrecking Ball there. Jaru on the Reinhardt continues to make a lot of sense here, and I think overall this kind of high CC, high sustain composition from TrqstTheProcess is probably what you want to try and get a full hold on A. Let's see if they can pull out the win on the back of this.
Nothing too spectacularly different this time around from how the approach was in the previous fight. In fact, identical. No changes as a result. Elbow will go for one. Will not find it.
Almost. I think that's the closest I've seen one of those come in a very long time. But no, it's back onto the mirror comp here for Dice Gaming. Let's see who can crack the other team's mirror first. A little bit of a slow start here for Dice Gaming. Then rotate around the right-hand side of the statue. The wall comes up. Both walls now up, and Jaru frozen, trust me, momentarily stunned. But it is TrqstTheProcess that come out with the kills here. Quartz forced to backpedal slightly. Frosted might not get out of this with the mech intact, and expect at least a little bit of a stagger. Well, okay, you know, a few seconds of stagger is still technically a stagger for Frosted, and Holy Pig on the high ground landed a couple of headshots, getting closer and closer to that ultimate.
Yeah, the difference in that fight was specifically the fact that level 1 Crook was inside the team between those walls, so was able to heal the squad. Moser, no such luck, and you can see that story told out in the ult difference. Nearly has the Ant Matrix, does a level 1 Crook, and in fact, going to be likely the first tool that TrqstTheProcess uses to slow things down here.
Yeah, in fact, they've backed away specifically to give time for Quartz to get this in. They need that wall to come down to find damage, but it has slowed down Dice Gaming, and now we're going to see Quartz make the rotation through that hotel, but they've lost Dollar here. The first piece of the puzzle falling off the table onto the floor as Dollar goes down. We need an equalizer very quick, but what a shatter from Infected! Almost the entire team put on their backs, and this is full on disastrous for Trust the Process. They're going to have one go at defending this, I think, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think that even bigger than the fact that they lost the objective is that they lost it on the second fight. So they don't even get much time off the clock, and that means that the second point that they have to defend will take even longer. Eyes on Elva, by the way, who's sitting in the bookstore. Just kind of crouched around a corner, looking for the flashbang, and just trying to be as annoying as possible here.
There's the shadow from Jaru, and Quartz finds Elva. Sound barrier from Aspen will keep the team alive momentarily as Holy Pig drops the Blizzard in, and it is Quartz and Holy Pig lighting up that kill feed. There's the D-Mech, and Trust the Process get a stay of execution. And this is a very close hold.
Yeah, this is it's a good memory. It's a good thing here, especially as Dice Gaming do not expect it, so they walk out. And that means that Elva is going to be punished as a result. This is good from Trust the Process. Don't overcommit, but punish when you get the opportunity to do so.
I'm amazed Zira stayed alive through all that, using every resource at the beck and call of the mate to survive through that one. They've got to be careful they don't succumb to the back cap here, but if you want to burn time off the clock, this is absolutely the way to do it for Trust the Process.
Flashbang going to go wide, and it's going to force the retreat from Trust the Process as they try and re-attend to the objective. They do have the opportunity of walking down behind. There's the Deadeye.
There's three in the sights. We'll find one pick, and that's Elva down here. They've got to convert that one player advantage into a win here as Quartz makes a slow rotation to deal with Infected. But now Dice Gaming have what is affected with the defensive positioning here, the favored positioning at this particular point of the map. So Trust the Process need to surge forward. There's the Blizzard, there's the self-destruct. Amplification, Immortality from level 1 Crook keeps the team alive through that. And Jaru and Trust me momentarily frozen up. Elva with a swap over onto the Hanzo takes Quartz out of the fight. And again, we are in the danger zone for Trust the Process, but they are slowly grinding this one back as Frosted falls. They come out of this with ultimates, and they've burnt nearly 2 minutes off of the clock here.
This is the kind of play that you need to have, though, to just in a position like this. Cannot play defensive, cannot play scared. You have to take the fight to your opponent, and Trust the Process of doing so.
Shadow gets 2. Counter Shadow from Jaru finds nothing. Holy Pick needs to survive another 5% of ult charge. And Jaru closes in the wall, squashes Infected between them, and finds 2. Zibra and Infected down here. No need to come at the Blizzard. Jaru comes out of this one with a Shadow to play with. And we'll have an amplification matrix for level 1 Crook. This has been textbook.
Yeah, here's how to assert dominance over the opposition Reinhardt. Whiff your Shatter, then get it back to the next fight and land that one. So half that story has been completed. We'll see if Jaru can finish it as they take the high ground yet again. Dice Gaming have to walk into a high ground spam. Alpha gonna use a Dragon Strike from all the way in the initial spawn. It's gonna chase Trust the Process away a little bit, but still, space being gained by Trust the Process.
Good attempt there on the boosted fire strike with the Amp Matrix. Jaru with the Shadow puts 2 on the ground with the wall from Zibra and the barrier from Aspen could be the difference makers here. A little hard for them to get the follow-up. Sound barrier from Dollar is too late to save Jaru, and now Trust the Process without a main tank, so they've got to rely on the CC of the Blizzard to somehow make the difference here, because that payload is encroaching upon that golden box of victory, and Dice Gaming with the Blizzard over the payload look to round us out here on King's Row and take us to another map.
And in the very end, the aggression was not rewarded. Dice Gaming withstand the onslaught of Trust the Process to give themselves their first map. The advantage they built on defense was just too great. And we still have a series here, Phil, to be sure.
I think an amazing turnaround there from Trust the Process to come into point B with, I was like 4 minutes 40 on the clock to defend, to get that as close as they did, and like clearly understanding that in order for that to happen, they've got to get right up into Dice Gaming spawn and just burn every second they could off that. A shame that ultimately it didn't work out for them. The weight of ultimates and the weight of the respawn advantage just too strong here for Dice Gaming, but that's great because it means we get at least one more map in this series, and it's already locked and loaded. Our team's very quick off the mark today, and for the second time today, we're heading to the Temple of Anubis, Lafon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, map variation over the broadcast today has been impressive. So I'm not disappointed that we've gone to the maps we've gone to. Anubis back to back though. This has been likely the difference, obviously, between this series and the last series we saw a team that was more dedicated to one composition all the way through. Here, we've seen a lot more flexibility, a lot more differences in terms of stylistic setup from both squads, both Trust the Process and Dice Gaming, right? We're willing to select different compositions. So far, the only mirror we've had is the rush. Otherwise, it's been the double shield versus the dive for Dice Gaming. We'll see, as we get into Temple of Anubis, is that going to come back to the playground? Are we going to see the double shield on the defense? Are we going to see the mobility compositions that dive from Dice Gaming as a result? And I mean, for Anubis, those choke points, as lethal as they are, if you can get past them, Wrecking Ball can still put a ton of work in.
And I do wonder, given the prevalence and the success that we saw from the May compositions in that previous round, if maybe both teams opt into this worked out really well for us here, and there's a lot of particularly juicy points to chop a team in half with a May wall, if maybe we see a little more of that here. I think the amount of variation, as you mentioned already, has been very interesting to watch here. The fact that it's not just been the mirror has been a great event.
Getting a look at the map set as we go through, roll through the graphics here. Just to kind of touch on that point, I think that's actually something that Overwatch is in a fairly good place right now. I think it's like 4. I'd say 4 to 5 good compositions that are competitively viable. And I don't mean competitively viable in, one is like a cheese comp. I mean, like, actually you can roll out on this and it is a functional way to play the game, right? With maybe 2 or 3 more that fall into the, okay, if things aren't particularly working, maybe you can go to that, this composition kind of way. But I think the other thing that's interesting is identity is coming to the fore a lot more with this quote unquote meta that we have on our hands, Phil, because if you are a team that really likes to play that fast up tempo style, there's a composition for you, right? In fact, there's multiple that you can kind of go to. If you're a more laid back, not passive, but a little bit more reactive in your approach, there's a composition for you too, and kind of everything in between. So and we've already seen that showcase in this tournament so far here at the Questline Open, over just 2 series today.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a little bit of difference between what is run on the ladder and what is run in competition, because those are fundamentally very different play environments. And I know that there is a bit of complaint on ladder at the minute that double shield again seems to be a little bit strong, and we have seen some success with double shield here today, but we've also demonstrated that it is not an automatic win. It is not automatically like you pick this or you lose. Like, you can deal with that with the right composition. You can deal with that, or even if you can't beat it, you can go toe to toe with it with other compositions. So yeah, it's a very healthy state for the game right now. And
I mean, it's an interesting thing to say. The game's in the healthy state it's been in a while, and then on the horizon, on the horizon, a lot of changes upcoming. But I mean, for the better. If we must all be frank, because new content is good content. So we'll see as that steps forward. The future is upcoming. The present is now, and we do, as you saw a moment ago, have a couple of technical issues to work through to get both these teams in the lobby and situated. Once that happens, we'll be back into the action, no question about it. I mean, in terms of standout performances so far, though, in this matchup right now, there's been a lot of pop off from a lot of different players here.
Yeah, I think Quartz for me, and we've effused about Quartz a few times now on broadcast, but like, from the pop-up performance on the Widowmaker on Rialto to a very solid performance on the Cassidy in King's Row, like, has been really making a name for themselves here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Quartz has been a standout performer. I want to highlight Moser actually a little bit as well, because as we teased a little bit with that ultimate on Lijiang Tower that was a little awkward. That's the
little fat fingery.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. How's the saying go? If I may absolutely butcher it, anyone who has never fat fingered be the first to throw stones, or something like that to that effect. So a little bit of teasing, has actually performed really, really well mechanically. And I bring that up because Alt Generation has been on point, has also been very aggressive in a way that Flux supports need to be, but it's a very fine line, because if you're too aggressive, you just get punished and you're feeding. Moser has, for the most part, been on the correct side of it, and just putting in a ton of damage, just put a lot of pressure on to their opposition. So just a little highlight there.
I think another very interesting thing to talk about here is I've been following Jeru as a player for a very long time. Played very prominently in a UK series that I cast for a number of years, and Infected on the other side is a relatively young, relatively new player compared to Jeru, and like the fact that we have a somewhat more senior, somewhat more storied player in Jeru up against Infected as a relatively new player, and the fact that they are still like going head to head in a very level way, I think is very interesting here. And hopefully we see, hopefully we get another map out of this one so we can see that head to head here, because I think that has been a very interesting interaction.
Speaking of head-to-head, actually, we're going to see... I will not comment on Trust the Process composition until they walk out of spawn. You cannot make me.
You almost did it. I could sense the tension there, Lafon.
It's just funny to bring attention to the fact that players like to pick things they're not going to play in the spawn queue, and even funnier when they stick on those character selections and inevitably struggle. For Dice Gaming, they're going to go over to the dive composition once again, as we kind of intuited they would. Not really surprised, though. I think the fact that they're going for that all-in dive with the Winston is more interesting. Obviously, playing around that anti-nade, playing around that nano boost, and there it is. Trust the Process going over to the rush composition.
Yeah.
Not a surprise at all. They've had success with it, so why change what's broken?
No, and I think Dice Gaming need to be careful here because their win condition is at least in part based around Moser being able to generate a quick nano boost here, but Trust the Process with this rush composition can cover so much ground and get right up on top of Dice Gaming, but that is a beautiful bio-nade. Trust the Process momentarily slowed in their roll on this one. Immortality Field forced just to keep them alive through that, and Trust the Process backpedal, slam the door and say, no, we're just going to get healthy, we'll be right back. Wait 1 second, Dice Gaming, and we'll push back out again. So, Trust the Process, waiting, and now pushing back in. Elva back on the Echo, already 60% of the ultimate available. Dive comes through, and Dice Gaming start to burn down. Trust the Process have now made their way to the point. I don't think they're likely to get much capture progress out of this one, particularly because Dice Gaming can afford to switch focus and split teams and just make life difficult here for Trust the Process. Quartz is down, and for Trust the Process, if they die slowly here, it's the worst possible thing for them, and I feel like Dice Gaming understand that and are happy just to wait things out. Okay, we're going to throw in the nano boost here. Only Big and Jab were already low, so Infected will come out of this with a couple of kills on their name and also with the Primal Rage ready to go, and this is very unfortunate stuff, trust me.
Yeah. I think the funniest part about this fight is that Trust the Process, they played very much a play in 2 acts, right? They were walked in, and it felt almost like they answered the door in their pajamas with how quickly they closed it and walked back. No, 1 moment, let me go put my shoes on. But no, that's going to be the reset. That's a really long fight, by the way. 2 minutes. And Trust the Process gained basically nothing. Dice Gaming, I mean, they trade the nano boost for every ultimate in the game, and hey, they have every advantage now in this next fight.
Yeah, I think this might be... it's too early to call it definitively, but it feels like a big misstep at the ground level here for Trust the Process. Jeru's down. Holy Peak will come out of this one with the ultimate ready to go, and they can't quite find the kill onto Moser, who sidesteps. Dollar finds 0 here, so we do get a little bit of an equalization, but Dice Gaming, they've got ults to throw at this particular problem. Moser's able to find upsell. We get the Blizzard finally online from Holy Pig. No kills out of that just yet. Dice Gaming, again, still committing resources into this one, but they're looking to cycle a couple out of this, as they will come out of this with the nano boost online, and another slow fight that Dice Gaming win with a high-tempo composition. Trust the Process, I think, just have not got the right approach to this.
It really does feel like Dice Gaming is allowing Trust the Process to defeat themselves, if we must be frank about it, right? Because Trust the Process, they're going to make a last second change over. They only have a minute to really engage into this next fight, and Dice Gaming is more than willing to let Trust the Process take these fights as long as they want. We're now in final fight territory, and it's only the 3rd fight of the map.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate here for Trust the Process. Trust me, we'll find Moser, but not before Moser was able to get that nano boost off. If they can survive through that, they're in a good position here for Trust the Process. And they're already going to lose 0 here. Jeru down is probably the biggest exchange so far for Trust the Process. Quartz able to find Frosted as they were out of the mech, and it looks like Quartz is going to try and put the rest of Trust the Process on their back and round this one out as Aspen falls. This swap has worked out, but I feel like Quartz was the standout player in that one.
Yeah, and in this case, it was a fight that Trust the Process took a lot more quickly And Dice Gaming just didn't have a response this time around.
Like, what a knockback.
Yeah, we saw how long it took Infected to get, and in fact did not take down level 1 Crook, right? So, I mean, Trust the Process looking for that double cap. They're already in through the main choke. The respawns are quick for Dice Gaming, but they're not in a position to really fully contest.
And now they've only really got that pulse bomb here from Quartz to make something happen here for Trust the Process. And Dice Gaming are again ready to throw ultimates at this. Jaru is down, and that has to be the button to like just turn tail and run here for Trust the Process, because without your main tank, it's going to be a hard old time.
And with your off tank gone as well, that is absolutely the full-on reset here. And Holy Pig getting chased down by Elva. Elva says, "Where are you going? Come back here." That's going to be
Why are you
again. Let me say hello.
Yeah.
And also goodbye.
Least, at the very least, for Trust the Process, they have now got some more ults to throw at this next one, but Dice Gaming had a chance to properly set up and defend. And they're defending fairly far forward here, Lafon.
Yeah, the other thing that's an issue about, just the throw ults of the problem to make it go away is that the positioning of the defense on Assault is a big factor. You can get control of the choke, you can spam damage in, force the resources out early, and, Dice Gaming are doing just that. There's the nano boost onto Infected, again to take space.
Oh, big stick, and Rosa is down, but it's tradey. It's incredibly tradey. It's 2 for 2 so far with respawns that very heavily favor Dice Gaming here. Holy Pig picks up the duplicate, tries to interrupt the res, doesn't interrupt it, but does find the pick onto Aspen, and will now have the self-destruct here. Might get a kill with that one as the barrier goes down. Won't find the pick on the remake, but back in looking to generate another one. Not enough time left on the clock, trust me. Able to take Moser out here, and we've not quite got that one tick gained on point A here for Trust the Process, but boy, are they scrabbling at it to make it happen. They are still in this fight, Lafon. Another long fight, in Dice Gaming, I think, don't mind that particularly. They can keep tagging on to the point and keeping the stall going on here. Trust the Process slowly finding kills, but still have yet to get that first tick fully capped. They are still struggling against Dice Gaming defense.
Oh, and here with that self-destruct, they're going to get everyone off the objective, so the respawns will come in. Aspen playing with death, stays alive, though.
What a stick from Quartz will find the DMAC. Is this where things start to turn for Trust the Process? They are still in this. Level 1 Crook has made the change onto the Moira and generated an ultimate in the time this fight has been going on, and Trust the Process finally get that first tick capped. But now they've got less than a minute to keep this going on. They won't be allowed a reset here. It is this fight or it is bust for Trust the Process, and Dice Gaming with left hook after right hook continue to knock players from Trust the Process out of this entirely, and they're starting to swing things back in their favor, Lafon.
And that is just the power of the respawns there, but Dice Gaming, the attention to detail to deny the first tick for as long as they did, and on top of that, now they've generated the resources they need to just shut this fight out. Elva making the switch over to the Sombra here, EMP for the final fight. 13 seconds left, and Trust the Process, just no time left here, no space to be gained, and Dice Gaming preventing them from even walking through.
Early engage here from the nano-boosted Winston stops Trust the Process from making a solid 6-man push onto the point. Minefield out from Jaru will make that big old recon test that little bit harder here for Dice Gaming, but Zero says, nah, we're not going to bother with a recon test. I'm going to hit 2 with a pulse bomb, 1 with a primary fire, thrusted with fireworks to round things out here, and that's the hold. Less than half of point B gained here for Trust the Process. Sometimes that's enough. Let's see if it's going to be as we look at Dice Gaming's offense.
And I mean, Dice Gaming just... earlier in the series, we talked, we've talked about teams allowing opponents to defeat themselves in many of these engagements. Dice Gaming play that to perfection. In all honesty, the fact that it's less than half of that second point, by virtue of Trust the Process, kind of brute forcing an attempt. And these extended fights, Dice Gaming knows it favors them. So rather than let the reset truly happen, they're content to scrabble away. And obviously the clutch performance is there from the DPS on Dice Gaming, doing a fantastic job of getting those 1 pickoffs to extend the timer, reduce the efficacy of the attacking half. And Trust the Process just simply aren't able to complete the finality that they need for that second point. Give themselves now a chance at a defense that will allow, if Dice Gaming can capture this map, force them at 5.
Yeah, we're staring at the barrel here of, despite the fact that when we loaded into this half of the broadcast, we were like, oh, well, it's 2-0 for Trust the Process. They've got to win 1 map, and that's it. They're forward. Like, this has been a really nice pushback from Dice Gaming. I'd love to know whatever coaching staff are at Dice Gaming said to them in that half to say, hey, no, play a little bit more like this and you'll win, because it seems to be working for them. And they're going for the dive composition again. I don't expect Elba to stick on the Widowful. In fact, yeah, straight away onto the Echo.
I think the most surprising part about that was initially the Lucio getting speed out of the spawn. Otherwise, it is very standard composition here from them. Trust the process. Again, here's the problem. They kind of have to just stay stable. If a pickoff comes in, no matter who it is, they are in for a world of hurt on their first point. Infected gets done, but they're not going to get eliminated.
No, they'll stay in this fight a little bit longer, but gets back out here. At the very least, this has fed a lot of ult charge over to Moses, so we're looking at a nano engage soon, Lafon.
In fact, Holy Pig this time around will get the benefit of eliminating Elva, and I think that actually might be Aspen in a bit of trouble. We'll get away, and Trust the Process may have bit off a little bit more than they can chew.
Yeah, well, Jaru was able to find Aspen here, so as long as Trust the Process don't overstep their bounds here, they're likely to take this out. Infected will survive, but has to get right out of the line of the fire here, as Trust the Process have really pushed the advantage. We'll have the Bob here for Trust the Process. Is the nano-boosted Winston likely to be enough for that? I think it's unlikely.
Oh, we're going to find out. They dodged the boop.
Yeah, not knocked away this time, but the big follow-up there from Moser was landing a massive anti-nade, takes Dollar and Crook out of the fight, and that's it. That's kind of done. Like, we might have the Bob on the field, Holy Pig might have found a frag here, but with no supports left for Trust the Process, can they really grind this one out? They'll buy themselves a bit of time as Infected goes down here as well. And maybe I've been a little bit quick to call this, Lafon, because the res brings Infected back in, and Dice Gaming have a chance to step a foot on the point, and what a bit of tracking there from Elba. Holy Pig taken out here by the focusing beam. Jaru down as well. It's a big dive in from Trust Me, who receives a sleep for their trouble, and Trust the Process thoroughly knocked off this point.
Not even needing to turn in for the Dollar, they're trusting the rest of the team to clean up. That's going to be a very, very a remarkable take now for Dice Gaming. They'll get themselves a couple more minutes to work on to second here. And I mean, keep in mind, they only have to take half the objective. The double cap snowball, very much in potential. And if they put a lot of pressure on the objective, Trust the Process has to be even if Trust the Process wins this fight, they cannot allow a tick to go through, because then they'll be at an extreme risk of a back cap.
And Dice Gaming in a position here just to do the six-man queue as Moser's about to get that nano boost online. Aspen starts things off here with the Valkyrie. Jaru Supercharger doesn't last more than a second here as Elba picks up the duplicate onto the Diva. That's going to force Holy Pig to make an adaptation themselves, and the kill started to come through from Dice Gaming. Elva back again into the Echo form. Holy Pig finds one here on the self-destruct, and it is a maelstrom of a melee here on the Nubis point B. Holy Pig finds two, which may just slow Dice Gaming's roll here. Infected still in this, and Jaru focused down, but the Holy Pig is still in this, and Quartz is still in this, and that's going to be Trust the Process more or less rounding out the defense here as Zera goes down. That was absolutely Dice Gaming's best opportunity for a snowball.
Yeah, they felt that they could win it, so they tried to dump everything in. Unfortunately, both supports were eliminated, so there's just no sustain. And, you know, with the strength of, you know, Assault, it bears repeating as many times as we have, simply because of how important it is to approach this fight. You can see Assault sitting on the flank, looking for that pulse bomb. Gets scouted out, though, actually, so it's forced to retreat.
Gets found.
Oh!
And, yeah, fully chased down. Good communication there from Dice Gaming. Sends Elba to interrupt Quartz on the way through. And now Dice Gaming again with an advantage. Holy Pig suffers a little bit at the hands of their own sticky bombs on that one. Elva gets the follow-up, and Dice Gaming again with a big advantage. Jaru into the back, tries to take out supports here, but there's a lot of support here for Moser. Aspen down, and suddenly there's a lot less support for Moser, and having a two-ton monkey land on you will take you out of the fight entirely. Jaru down to Frosted here, but they've still failed to take that first tick, and Dice Gaming, whilst they're finding kills here, they've got to get back to the point and start the cap, and that will allow Trust the Process to get back in here. Dollar comes in with the rally running, allows a bit of survivability, makes it very hard to focus them down, and buys time for the rest of the team to come in. The focusing beam takes Infected out of the fight entirely, and it's stagger time. This time, it's Frosted at the business end of that one.
Still, this is actually very good for Trust the Process. The attention to detail yet again, making sure to stay on the objective. That yellow tick of victory on, you know, less than halfway through is so close to that first tick. Trust the Process had given that up at any point. We would be looking at a finality of this map. Still, Trust the Process down one. Absol again gets caught out. But the respawn will be here quickly as the duplicate comes in onto the island.
Interesting. Okay, nice big anti there from Holy Pig on the duplicate. Franz the Sleeper as well. So Raz kind of slowed the roll here for DICE Gaming somewhat. Has the nano boost. That's going to go straight onto Jaru, allows them a little more survivability. Certainly helps them win that matchup against Infected, but this has not been as clean for TrqstTheProcess as we might like. They've lost as many players as they've taken, and DICE Gaming start to push their way back in. They're not quite at the point where they can take this fully just yet, but they still have some time to play with. Trust.Me receives the anti and gets a lot of pressure out of the mech now, forced to use the self-destruct, has to dodge the recall, but finds Infected with the self-destruct. And this may be TrqstTheProcess landing the defense once again here. Trust.Me with a 3, with a 4K here to round out proceedings. For DICE Gaming, there's one good fight and 2 scrappy ones if they're lucky.
Yeah, and I mean, now DICE Gaming have acquiesced to the fact that Elva just has not been as effective on the duplicate, on the Echo, as Holy Pig has been on this defense. So making a switch over to the Sombra. I mean, DICE Gaming, you said that they may have 1, maybe 2 fights in them. I don't know that they'll even have that second with how quickly or how slowly they've approached this objective, as we now down to the last 50 seconds of the map.
Quartz momentarily forced back by the hack, but at least they know that is now in the offing. Jero has to run from the angry shield maiden here in the form of Aspen on the brig, running with the rally. Makes it that little bit harder to displace DICE Gaming. We get the nano as well, and Infected swings those simian arms and makes life just that little bit harder here for TrqstTheProcess. A very battered and bruised looking TrqstTheProcess now have to survive without Dollar in the equation. Quartz closing in on a pulse bomb here, but TrqstTheProcess come back in, and it's Jaru's turn to go monkey mad here and swing through DICE Gaming. We're at 17 seconds, and TrqstTheProcess are staring down the barrel of a victory here on Temple of Anubis.
The fact that they had a desperation attempt was on their side. Now DICE Gaming are looking at the same situation. 3 seconds left. They need to touch the objective. Infected barely gets their focus down, and we need a harried effort. DICE Gaming, no one to be found.
Oh, just there from Zebra getting back in on the Tracer, but you're already down a main tank from DICE Gaming. They don't have the ults to play with. They needed this EMP from Elva, and it's just by a whisker not going to be there in time. Frosted with the self-destruct, has allowed Elva a little more space to get in, has the EMP but can't land the combo, and Moza is down here. Duplicate from Holy Pig picks up the Diva on the underground. Elva drops the EMP, hits 3, but there's not enough follow-up. There's not enough DICE Gaming left to keep this going. TrqstTheProcess have the ult, they have the bodies, they have the presence, they have the map, they have the match, and they have the chance to move forward into the upper bracket.
Yeah, TrqstTheProcess drop 1, but they are the one to take the victory in the end. DICE Gaming just not being able to find that same level of clutch factor in that final map that they needed to bring this one back from the brink. And TrqstTheProcess will move on. Phil, what a spectacular sequence of events there. Honestly, a capture percentage that I thought would be equalized fairly easily by DICE Gaming, but on the brink, on the precipice of a defeat, TrqstTheProcess dug deep and pulled a victory from the jaws of defeat. Impressive stuff there from your eventual victors. A 3-1 scoreline as Temple of Anubis gets completed.
Well, I think a lesson to be learnt there from the name of our winning team. Sometimes you do just need to trust the process, and the victories will come your way. Unfortunately for myself and Lafon, that's the end of our time on the broadcast. We're going to throw you to the desk to wrap up that match and set you up for what's coming next in the day.
Okay, and yeah, with that, welcome back at the desk. And yeah, absolutely amazing match. Mini Esports takes the W against the players of DICE Amplify in the end, and it's been a super close one. HLS, you would break it down for me.
I mean, you said it was a super close one. That's one of the closest 3-1 matches that I've seen in a long time. Just so back and forth. I mean, Temple of Anubis at the end, it was basically just showing how strong that spawn advantage can be for the defenders. Both teams looked like they had no chance to hold on to that point. Both teams end up putting up awesome defenses on point B, thanks in part to that spawn advantage. And it really decided the map. In the end, TrqstTheProcess was just a little bit better.
Yeah, DICE had I think a nice opportunity there. They started capitalizing a little bit more on their opportunities to take the first map that TrqstTheProcess has lost this entire tournament. And it just didn't end up being enough for them. I thought, it got a little dicey, especially on Temple of Anubis, where it was like, are we seeing the reverse sweep, be manifested into existence here by DICE? I thought they played a really solid game. I wouldn't be surprised to also see them playing again later against TrqstTheProcess again.
I can't believe you said that got a little bit dicey. It's pretty
That
rough.
was unintentional.
Yeah, really painful to witness that one. But yeah, I mean, definitely that respawn advantage you talked about on that second point of Anubis, not only an interesting factor, but indeed a game-deciding one. And both teams had to have a really, really long defense on that second point, and TrqstTheProcess, they were able to hold on to that 40% for 4.5 minutes almost. And that's mostly due to the fact that if you don't manage to take out the whole defensive team at once, you'll always face up against that early and super soon respawns basically from the defending team, which just make it super hard to make process, because as long as the point is contested, your percentages don't go up. And that's exactly what happened on both attacks here. TrqstTheProcess only gets 40%, and then is able to indeed full hold that without any percentages capped. That second point against DICE Gaming, and they take the win in the end and deny that reverse sweep you talked about. And that's a really important one, because that boosts up your mental, because if you lose the second map after you're up to 0, your mental is down in the basement, even lower, maybe into the second basement, and it's super hard to get out there. So unbelievably important they take Anubis, they make sure they get that win, they deserve it here. After they did a little bit of trolling maybe on the attack on King's Row, although DICE just play a super good defense there on the second point in those rows of the King's Row. Actually, we are able to hold on against that attack, against that rush with the shield for so very long if you get the positioning right, and that's exactly what DICE Amplified did here. And in the end they lose on King's Row, but they take the series, and so it's GeForce up against TrqstTheProcess in the winners final tomorrow. And DICE Gaming, they go down into the lower bracket, and they will have to face Bay State again. And if we look back in the group stage, we remember that was actually the deciding matchup for Bay State in the group phase, where they had to win that one against DICE in order to move on into the playoffs, and they did just that. So I'm super hyped and looking forward to see that matchup later. Before that one, we'll see Roadhog Rise again against Dysfunctional. But yeah, definitely two super strong and super interesting 3-1s in the upper bracket. And the map that Munich Esports dropped actually, or like the TrqstTheProcess dropped actually the first one ever in this tournament for them.
Right, TrqstTheProcess has looked so good so far in this tournament. And Julian, just as you've mentioned, DICE Gaming going back up against Bay State again. That was such a fun match to watch the first time around. Why don't we do it again? That is perfect. I'm so happy the stars aligned to get us that matchup one more time.
Absolutely. And this is where it comes down for DICE and for Bay State, because yes, of course, group stage was a must win for Bay State, but this one is even more, because if they want to remain and keep on trying to move back into that grand final through the loser bracket, they have to win that matchup. It's do or die for them, of course, as it always is in the lower bracket. And yeah, it's last chance for both of the teams. One is going home tonight, or will stay home tomorrow, basically. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to see how collegiate affects that match again, because we know the major is still going on at the collegiate side as well. And both of those teams, I mean, Bay State obviously as a collegiate team, but DICE Amplified has collegiate players as well. They actually had to play a match in collegiate at the same time as they did play the match here, so they had to get a backup roster actually for the collegiate matchup. I don't know how much this maybe affected the game against TrqstTheProcess now, but definitely interesting to see, and it will be interesting to see how collegiate affects the performance of those teams in the upcoming matchups.
And speaking of things that are upcoming, we are going to be taking a little bit of a break here shortly as we look at the schedule for what is coming up later tonight. The next match will be at 6 p.m. Eastern with Roadhog Res again going up against Dysfunctional. And that should be a good one. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, going back to like scrappy two teams that were put together for this tournament. And then following up Dice Gaming at 8 with Bay State. So it's going to be two of those more established teams that we'll see a little bit more cohesion, just more experience playing as a group. So a couple of really different looks as we saw, established team versus pub team this morning. Or I guess this morning for us, this afternoon for everyone else. And then it's going to be, the similar team formats for the later games of the day. So I think we're going to be looking forward to an absolute banger night. Let's let everyone go for now. And Julian, this is your last moment on the desk for today. So is there anything that you'd like to say before we take off?
I mean, I really appreciate that. There's actually established to be a thing that I always get the last word to. So I appreciate you handing it back over to me. And I mean, there's nothing more to add. It's been a great day of Overwatch so far, and I'm looking forward to see the other two matches of the night. And until then, we'll head into that bigger break. And yeah, everybody grab something to eat. Until later, thank you very much for today. And I'll be back tomorrow, I think. I hope.